Hello and welcome, everyone. Really strange noise here. Welcome to everyone online and welcome to our team here in Bridgewater. Delighted to be here live in Bridgewater. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's an excellent reminder of what we're doing here in Henkel, North America. We are 20% of the global turnover of Henkel, and we have an amazing team here of great volunteers, as you saw. We have 11 ERGs where we help each other understand our differences and we help the communities in which we are. We have very, very strong brands here in the region, and we have excellent customer relationships. And I hope the video reminded you also that the external world sees us, and we get awards that shows that we are an excellent employer, and we're very happy to have all of you here today to talk much more about that. And of course, none of this, the customer relations, the culture, the volunteerism, the culture that we have would be possible without you. So this is all about you, and I want to make sure that I thank you for that, because you make Henkel what Henkel is every day. And unfortunately, I will not be here for the fun exercises that you will have going forward. I'll try to say this without becoming too emotional. So as some of you at least know, I have decided to leave Henkel, and this is the last month. This is the last town hall. It's the last ExCom we had today. I decided to leave Henkel to go back to Denmark, to my family, and to take an exciting role in the business of some of you in the value chain of our AP businesses. I'll take a CEO position back home in Denmark. But now that I have you all here in Bridgewater and online, I wanted to make sure that I say thank you. Thank you for the years that I've been here. It's been an absolute privilege to serve as the Henkel president in North America and in my other roles, but here today as the Henkel president of North America. And representing you internally and externally. I have greatly enjoyed meeting quite a few of you. I've done my utmost to travel and see as many of you as possible. And I loved the interaction. I loved meeting with you and listening to what's going on in your business, in the operations, what's going on with your customers, what's going on with you. And it's the energy and passion that you bring to work every day that makes Henkel what Henkel is. So please continue to do so. And while I'll be on another continent, I'll still be traveling here. Part of my new business is here in the US. But I will for sure be watching from the sideline and cheering for you, rooting for Henkel from the sideline. So thank you very much. Today with me we have most of the North America ExCom. So we have Phil Schaefer, who is the head of our consumer brands, Henkel Consumer Brands. We have Melissa Gill on screen with us. She's on the West Coast and will join us virtually. We have Martijn, who's our CFO here in North America. We have Bob, who's our Chief Legal Officer here. Valeria, head of HR, and we have Jenny, who's head of CorpCom. So thank you very much for joining us. We also have a special guest, and that's our Henkel president in Canada, Rob, but I'll get back to you, Rob. Let's take a look at the agenda for today, what you signed up for when you entered the call. First of all, we'll take a look at the external landscape. including the geopolitical challenges across not only the globe, but also specifically here in the US, Mexico, and Canada zone. And as I said, Rob, our Canada Henkel president, will be joining me to talk more about the impact of what's going on in Canada, and we learn a bit more about what's going on there. Martijn will provide us with an update of financials for Q1. And then Phil, Melissa, and myself will be talking about what our purposeful growth agenda looks like for our 3 different businesses. At the end of the presentation, Jenny will be speaking about our sponsorship, the US soccer sponsorship that you saw at the end of the video. I don't know if any of you have been to any games. I went to one, full rain, in Hartford last weekend. Yeah, it was a very wet experience, and unfortunately the US lost. Turkey won, but it was an excellent experience, and Jenny will be announcing an exciting competition that you can join. I will leave that as a cliffhanger. As always in our town halls, there's Q&A. It's a Teams meeting, so you put your question into the Q&A section, and you can kindly put in your name so we know who's asking the question, and also you can vote for the questions that you find more interesting. We will be answering them in the sequence as the best we can. Usually they move around a little bit, so bear with us. And if there are many of the same kind of question, we will bundle them so that only one appears. So if you don't see your exact question, it's because someone else asked the same, almost the same question. So that's how we're going to run it. And we will also have a mic for those of you here in Bridgewater who would like to ask a question. And before we go into the agenda, I would like to give you a quick reminder of what we're doing in the North American ExCom and how it impacts you. We have 3 focus areas: culture, compliance, and connection. Culture is very much about making sure that we are and we continue to be an employer of choice. And 2 things I'd like to emphasize. We will do another ACT session this year. It's about feedback again, like we did last year. ACT, accelerate our cultural transformation, by the way, ACT. And you will be hearing more about that in a specific town hall and that agenda in July that the ExCom will be hosting. The other topic I want to highlight is diversity and inclusion. You should have gotten an email earlier on about our commitment to the topic. We are committed as a company to foster a culture where everyone feels welcome, no matter who they are and where they come from, and they feel valued and can thrive and do their best at work under those conditions. We are, that's also what the letter said, we are continuing to offering development opportunities in different programs. They will be voluntary and open for all, and with inclusive content. We are evolving our offerings in this space to maintain compliance with the recent executive orders. And I want to make sure that I emphasize our values to you in this area. We are very committed to, as a company, and based on the values, not only here in North America, but our company values, to respect and value all of our team members in Henkel. We apply fair and consistent practices to ensure equal opportunities for all. We still do. We have always worked on this. And we recognize the value of diversity and the fact that teams that come together that are diverse and inclusive are well prepared to solve complex business challenges, and those we have plenty of. So we for sure do need diversity and inclusion in our teams. And we, as the ExCom, are committed to, the company is committed to, and we are asking all of you to commit to helping us creating an open and inclusive work environment where there's room for everyone. The second topic that we have on the agenda in the North American ExCom is compliance. This is about risk management and legal and fiduciary requirements. And to me, the translation of this one is that this is the foundation that we build to make sure that you, as our colleagues, can trust the company, but also that our external partners, customers, and other partners in the external world trust our companies. This is the foundation. And then finally, connection. It's about an open dialogue, first of all, with you, that we make sure that we tell you where we're coming from, but that you can tell us where you're coming from and we can discuss. But of course, it's also about building a strong external brand for Henkel here in North America. And Jenny will be speaking more about the specific role that our US soccer sponsorship plays in building this reputation and how you can all engage. And then we had a global leaders summit. We have an annual summit for global leaders. It was a virtual one this time, and I wanted to just make sure that you all know what it's about. It's the top leadership team coming together with the board and talking about priorities. And this year, the headline was Forward with Confidence. So it was a reconfirmation of our strategic priorities. So profitable growth and reaching the next level of our cultural journey. That's where ACT comes in, among others, and making sure that we are future ready in a volatile world as we are facing today. We need to think about every day how we are ready for tomorrow and the longer term future. And of course, as I said, this is a re-emphasis of our strategic priorities. So our Purposeful Growth agenda, I'll just show it to you. You've seen it many times, I hope. But let me just talk briefly about the 5 pillars. It's about shaping a winning portfolio, and you see us doing that actively when we acquire businesses, but also when we divest businesses. That's part of an active portfolio and part of our strategy. We want to create a competitive edge, and there are a few different accelerators. So it's innovation, it's sustainability, and it's digitalization. And then, of course, we need to make sure that we always look at how do we have the best possible operating model in order to be ready for the future. And all of this accelerated by our cultural journey. So if in doubt what we're doing, it should be all linking nicely to our Purposeful Growth agenda. And speaking about moving forward with confidence, this conversation can probably not happen these days without talking about the geopolitical challenges that we're facing outside of the walls of our company. And in this context, we cannot not talk about US and Canada. And of course, that's why I'm so happy that Rob is here. So tariffs is, of course, one of the things that we're talking about when we talk about US and Canada. And I want to make sure that I thank all of you who have helped analyzing, looking at numbers and making sure that we get supply, and I can't even think of all the different things we have done in order to mitigate the impact of potential tariffs for our businesses. So thank you very much for that. I do realize that the things that happens when, at least every morning, I'd like to say I open a newspaper, but I actually don't. I look at my phone and I read the news, and I want to acknowledge that this can be sometimes disturbing or concerning when you look at what's going on in the world. And the uncertainty that is there can cause worries. I fully understand that. And with that, I want to make sure that you know that Henkel supports all of its team members, no matter where the team members are, here in the US and for sure also in Canada and in Mexico. We have a shared vision, we have a shared set of values in Henkel, and those are the ones that drive what we do. And this transcends politics and it transcends borders. And We are turning 150 years next year. I don't know if you know, but we are. So stay tuned for that, by the way. And we have worked under shifting administrations in different countries across the globe for 150 years. We have done that by staying true to our values and being adaptive to whatever is going on at the time and in the place. And that's the same now. And we've done it for 150 years quite successfully because of all the good people that have been part of Henkel in the past and now. I want to recognize that everything going on, it has an impact on the relationship in Canada and on our Canadian team members. And as I said before, we value all of our team members, also our Canadian team members, and I can really not emphasize that enough. So with that, who better to talk about Canada than Rob Burtock, the Henkel President of Canada. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be back in Bridgewater here. And for those of you that are listening as well, I'll tell a little quick story. So I started my career 37 years ago at National Starch and Chemical, and I walked into this building in 1989 for my first training session. And so the moral of the story is, after 37 years, I still love this company, and it is a wonderful company to work for, and it's a special place in Bridgewater here. Now, Pernilla, you can't get away without me saying a few words. Pernilla, on behalf of the Canadian Team Canada, folks that are listening in, I want to thank you for all of your support for Canada. You know, when all of the turmoil first started and the acrimony between the US and Canada, Pernilla was the first one that picked up the telephone, called me and said, Rob, what can I do for you? And so that will have a lasting impression on me and an impression on the entire Canadian workforce. So thank you, Pernilla, for that. You always conduct yourself with grace and professionalism. And on a personal note, I thank you for the friendship. You will be sorely missed. I will miss you. But I know that great things are ahead of you as you open up this next chapter of your life. So as Pernilla said, understandably, the last couple of months have been filled with some conflict, some turmoil, and we know that, hey, listen, this is causing some anxiety. Maybe for you, those of you sitting here, listening in today. But we are all united at the end of the day, and that's why it is so special for me to have the invite from the North American ExCom to come here today to talk about our collective businesses, our friendship that we have had for many years, and the wonderful collaboration that we have had. So none of this is contrived. None of this has been artificially set up. We have had a long-standing connection with the US, and we are from the same region, North America, and it will continue to be that way. And like Pernilla said, whether you are in the US or you're in Canada, we're one Henkel. We're one team at the end of the day, collaborative and executing together as a partnership, our shared purpose, our shared values, and our shared vision. Now, a little bit about the Canadian team that I'm so proud of. So when I think about the Canadian team, the first thing I think of is a group of world-class professionals, right? People first, always. Yes, you can have great brands. You can have a wonderful execution of your strategy. But without the people to make the difference, you will not be as successful as I know you can be. And so I think of them and I think of diversity. I think of inclusion. I think of the multiculturalism that is pervasive throughout the company. I think about dedication, drive, and determination to execute on what we do together. And it's not only about business for the Canadian team, it is also about giving back to our communities that we serve. So a little bit about Canada and who we are. So we are 354 employees strong. We have 5 locations throughout Canada. Our corporate office that houses both our consumer and industrial business is in Mississauga, Ontario. We have the Seal for Life production facility and office in Huntsville, Ontario. 3 DCs in Huntsville, Ontario, in Mill Creek, Ontario, and Burkes Falls, Ontario, and in Edmonton, Alberta. So after the retailer brands divestiture, we're just over $500 million in sales. And for those of you that are wondering, it's about a 60-40 split between our consumer and industrial business. So when I talk about Canada and I talk about our financials, it's been a wonderful start to the year. Despite all of the challenges that we've had, that we've talked about, we are growing into the mid-single digits. And so I always compare our growth back to how are we doing on the consumer side against GDP, and how are we doing with the industrial business against the industrial production index. And we are outperforming by miles, despite the tariffs, despite some of the constraints on the business, we are outperforming there. Led particularly low double digits by our adhesives business, and I want to make special mention of our APC business. I don't see JPK today. Congratulations to APC business. The ACC business led by Stacey Brown's team in Canada, and ACM led by Larry Carswell. On the consumer retail side, again, despite some of these adversities that we've had, Pierre Dupuy's team is doing a great job, Phil, on expanding both our top line and our margin. And this all in spite of the market volatility we have, that's putting pressure on our cost of goods, and also because of fierce competition that we've got in Canada right now. Everybody is fighting for the business in tough times. John Fortunato's team on Beauty Pro side has been challenged a little bit, again, because of the aforementioned tariffs, right? They're putting a strain on both GP1 and our EBIT, and that's understandable, given what's going on. And also, second thing that we're hit with in Canada is when the whole tariff issue started, there was a big emphasis on buy Canadian, buy local. And of course, this plays right into the hands of our biggest peer in that Beauty Pro space, and that's L'Oreal, as they produce in Canada. And so despite some of those challenges, great growth year so far, and it's driven by our top brands, right? Whether you're in the consumer retail space, right? Iconic brands such as Persil, Purex, Dial, Got to Be. In our Beauty Pro business, Schwarzkopf, Joico, by the way, #1 in hair color, #1 in the salons, our Schwarzkopf brand. And of course, on the adhesive side, very strong in Canada as well, Loctite, Bonduride, Technomelt. And I saved one special brand for last, and that's LePage, our iconic LePage adhesive business. #1 in the marketplace, construction, within retail brands, and it is celebrating this year 149 years in Canada. So big year next year coming up for LePage. So all of this business success has also translated into awards for us. And I'm very proud to say that we were awarded, for the first time in our history, Canada's top 100 employers. Prestigious award. It's the best of the best, whether you're in consumer goods, services, or the industrial space. So really fantastic achievement for our team in Canada. And we doubled up on that by also becoming, for the second year in a row, Toronto's Greater Toronto's top 100 employers. So I'm tremendously proud of the team for these achievements. And then within the respective business units, we've also seen that translate to awards across the board. So our Home Depot business, which was given to our ACC team, recognized us as the partner of the year. So this goes back to A, social responsibility, and on all our efforts there, and two, the expansion initiatives that we have taken, GE Sealant's acquisition example, to increase our business within that space. On our consumer retail, much like the Home Depot Award, we received Walmart's and a Leadership Commitment Award. So this is an award, again, given to us partnering with Walmart and working together on initiatives to expand our growth and our respective businesses. And then within Beauty Pro, it doesn't get any better than the Salon Reader's Choice Awards, where they are voted on by major hair salons, the stylists in those hair salons, and we received multiple awards across the different spaces, whether you're in hair colorant, hairspray, or base. And so all of that is great, but a big part for me of our culture in Canada is giving back to the communities. And so we have done a number of programs over the years, including the Habitat for Humanity, Ronald McDonald House, the Peel Children's Aid Society, and our ERG, which I'm proud to say we formed our first ERG in September of last year, that's already tripled in the amount of people we have on this team, is also looking at how we can continue to celebrate our multicultural, our diverse, and our inclusive workforce. So some fantastic work being done. And in closing, I like to say this. Heretofore, we've been an integral part of the success of Henkel across the region and across the globe. And our teams are dedicated. They look forward to continuing that on to the future, working in collaboration with all of you here today and listening out there. And so with that, again, thank you. And Pernilla, I'd like to call you up here for a special joint announcement.
Yes, thank you. So you stay.
I'll stay here.
You stay here. So in the spirit of giving back to the communities in which we serve, we thought it would be timely and appropriate to announce that we make a special donation across the US and Canada of $10,000 to Feeding America and to food banks across Canada. And with that, Martijn, you're next.
Hi everyone, also a big welcome from my side. Of course, as it is a tradition, we talk today also a bit about Q1. I mean, for a lot of us, this sounds maybe really far away, right? I mean, we are today in June, we're almost closing Q2. But still, I think it's good to think back about what did we do in Q1. So if you move to the next slide, from a global perspective, you see that we had a very slow start, right? So minus 1%. And some of you might have seen, of course, that we already pre-announced this when we announced the full year results, right? It was back in March. And then, of course, also some of you saw that we had quite a steep decline in the share price. So we lost 10%. I don't want to elaborate too much on this, but a couple of words I think it's important to understand. I think that was actually not so much driven by the performance and the outlook going forward, but more by the uncertainty that investors are having in our ability to deliver on our guidance. I think that was the underlying message. And I think that's also why I want to reiterate in the bottom that you see that for 2025, we are confirming the guidance, of course, but it also means that for Q2, Q3, and Q4, of course, we are expecting organic growth. So I think that's important, an important nuance. If you look then to the two different business units, we saw an increase in adhesives. So we had overall globally a good start. Consumer brands was weak, right? Both in professional and in the consumer part. where we also saw that we had issues really by slower demand, but also if you think about customers destocking, and overall we had a couple of supply chain issues. So this was maybe kind of, let's say, perfect storm, and of course, also to be clear, not the place where we want to be, right? From a North American perspective, I think one thing to highlight, and I know a lot of us have worked very hard on this, it's the part of portfolio optimization. And I would even say it was the last part of the portfolio optimization that we did from Henkel globally, right? So we divested the retailer brands business, so it also enables us, of course, going forward to really focus on our core business and on our core priorities. So I think that was a very important step. If you take then, if you look to the next slide and you look then particularly North America, we had a very slow start, right? So minus 5.6%. As a reminder, in Q4 we saw slight growth. So this was a bit a turnaround of that trend. So this was actually not the place where we want to be, right? Also to be very clear. Was everything bad? No, not everything was bad. I mean, if you think about certain SBUs like AME was growing, ACC was growing. If you look to Canada, Rob, I mean, Canada was growing. So we saw on certain selected points, we saw highlights, but obviously it's not the place where we want to be. And also to be clear, when we look now, we are 2 months into the quarter, and I cannot elaborate too much on this for obvious reasons, but we see an improvement versus Q1. So I also hope that Q1 was actually the lowest point that we see in this year. And that's also what is reflected, to be very frank, in our forecast. Another highlight for me is that we were able to maintain our gross margins. And you know, externally we don't announce profit in Q1, but I think in this circle we can still talk a bit about it. So we had an all-time high absolute gross margin in Q1. And I think that's also something, of course, to keep in mind, because that level of gross margin also enables us to invest in our structures, but also invest in marketing. And that's also what you saw. So we kept investing in marketing, despite that we saw a slowdown in growth. And I think for people who have been longer with us, that might be a departure of some trends that we saw 5-6 years ago, right? So we are also committed to keep investing in our brands, or we did in Q1, and this continued actually in Q2. Important part is M&A, right? And I know that a lot of us worked on the M&A, I mean, pipeline, so things that we might acquire in the future, but also on the integration of businesses that we did acquire, right? So if you think about the critical infrastructure investment, this is something, of course, that we acquired back in 2023. We integrated this, and this is now an integral part of Henkel, and of course went live in January 1 of 2025, so the beginning of this quarter, or quarter 1. And this went live without any disruption, right? Without any major disruption, without loss of sales, without loss of production. So of course, from my side, a big thank you from everyone who has been working on this, because I mean, we always take these things for granted, right? But you have to know that there's a big machine behind and a lot of people behind working on those topics to make sure it goes smooth. And of course, I mean, the M&A part continue. We cannot talk too much about M&A, what's going forward, right? But we have certain things in the pipeline, and of course, what we already, where we are working on today as well, very concretely, is of course the integration of Seal for Life, which is currently foreseen for January 1, 2026. I think Pernille and Rob, you elaborate a bit on the volatile environment, right? We see an increase in volatility. I mean, on the one hand, of course, we have the tariffs. And of course, I also want to give a big thank you to the colleagues who have been involved in finding solutions, right, for challenges that we didn't have 3 or 4 months ago. And I think there we have been actually working very much together as one team. And I think there we as a team did an outstanding job. And of course, we will see what comes ahead of us, but every volatility, and this is also what I sincerely believe, every volatility will also bring an opportunity for us. And I think that's also something, of course, where we as a team really can make a difference. Having said that, I would like to hand back to Pernille and we talk about the Purposeful Growth agenda.
Thank you. All right, so as promised, you will now get a short view of what the Purposeful Growth agenda looks like for our 3 businesses, and I got the pleasure of starting. So our Purposeful Growth agenda both has growth and it has culture in it. So I decided to pick examples about how you, our wonderful HAT team, makes all of that come through in the way you engage with the society around us, and also how we have awarded you during the year. So if we go to the next slide. Yeah, all right. So let's see, shaping our culture. There could have been 100 pictures on this slide. I just want to make sure I say that. So I just picked a few. And those of you who are not here, it's not because you're forgotten at all, but you would not be able to see the faces on the slide if I put everyone that I wanted to put in here. But Chanhassen, here we are celebrating the Holly Festival in Chanhassen. In Bridgewater, we are packing school bags for Math Corps to make sure that young students have the tools they need in order to learn math and succeed in life. In Rocky Hill, no less than 62 volunteers went into and I got a little bit worried when I saw this, the Dinosaur State Park, to landscape and clean the parts in order to support the park facilities there. In Irvine, again, trees, where's Irvine there? It was about planting and watering oak trees together with the Irvine Ranch Conservancy. In Madison Heights, they have a signature event that they do every second month. It's called How I Met Your Manager. I don't know how many of you watched How I Met Your Mother, but it's the same but different. So it's a wonderful networking event that the Women's Network do there. They put one of the local managers on a chair, and you can meet that person and ask about professional and personal development and get learnings like that. And then on the bottom right, it's the ERG in Canada that Rob just talked about, that's celebrating Arab Month here this year in April. So all of this has a tremendous impact on our culture inside of Henkel and on how we interact with the society around us. And I think it's such an important part of how we collaborate and how we bring that spirit back into our business that I wanted to make sure I highlighted that one. The other side of the slide is really about some of the awards that our teams here in North America, HAT, have gotten during the year by working together, winning together. We had the Gala Award event for HAT, the global one, earlier this year, and we had the North America or the US ACC Home Depot team on stage. I was so lucky to hand over the Customer Experience Award. They won that one. Congratulations once again. So it's been a good year. If you also listened to Rob, it's been a good year for the Home Depot team this year in the US and Canada. So the US team designed the perfect store together with the Home Depot based on a long and tight partnership on what was needed in order for joint success to happen, and they got the Customer Experience Award for that. Also, our APC sapling team, which has a very heavy presence here in the US and here in Bridgewater, won the Technology Leverage Award globally, which is for the strategic collaboration we've done with, among others, Creighton, in reformulating some of our core hot melt products to have lower carbon footprint. Really an amazing job that I don't think we have fully utilized the work there yet. It's a big step forward, and there's so much more to gain from that. We also had nominees from North America during that award session. Our Salisbury team, I want to highlight that, on how fast, and that is very, very fast, that team managed to get the Salisbury plant up and running again after we had an incident with a lot of water on site because of a water tank that failed. So really, really strong team collaboration there in Salisbury from our AO team and a lot of other people coming together also for the businesses in order to make that as little impact as possible. What I don't have here on the slide is that our AMI team, our ACM team, and our APP teams were also nominated for awards for the Global Awards, and just making it to the short list of those awards is a very, very big thing. And then finally, the lower picture on the right-hand side, that's from the recent Sales Leadership Conference. It's one of my favorite events of the year. It's our very, very top-notch sales leaders in HAT in Namix. They come together. We treat them to a bit of a gala. We hand over the President's Award, which is probably the highlight of my year because it's always highly emotional. People are super grateful to get it. Their spouses are there. It's just a big, big moment for someone who has worked day and night to make the sales come through with their customers, and they really deserve to be there. And it's always a wonderful event. And these are all of the best sales guys that we awarded this year to join us in Florida for this event. And with that, I think I'm handing over to you, Phil. Yes, good.
Thank you. And it would be a missed opportunity if I didn't start off by thanking on behalf of HCB, also to you, Pernille, for your dedication and leadership to the region as such. And I'm super excited to share 3 examples on how HCB contributed to the Purposeful Growth agenda lately. Number 1 is about Snuggle, probably one of the most iconic brands that we have in HCB. But it's been pretty silent about it. And we called it internally the Snuggle struggle because we had a margin issue. And a team did an amazing effort on improving that margin profile by over 1,500 basis points. And that allowed us to reinvest in the equity. And most of you may have seen updated artworks, a new Snuggle bear, and the brand so far is responding extremely well. So we are breaking the trend. We are outpacing the category. So a prime example of how we contribute to the Purposeful Growth agenda. The second example I have shared before, but I'm so proud of this project that I'll share it over and over and over. Project Symphony, compaction. Yes, it's a GP driver because we optimize our margin profile with that, but it's also a huge sustainability initiative. We're reducing our exposure to plastic waste or water waste for that. And the team has done a tremendous effort on wave 1 execution, which covers roughly 60% of the HDD business in the first quarter, and the second wave will go live in September. So please continue with that strong effort, and it's a huge initiative that contributes to our growth. And the last example, again, around how we can break trends. It's about our Schwarzkopf keratin brand. Coloration coming out of the pandemic is a category that's struggling. You know, consumers are going more to their salons and are not coloring their hair at home. So the overall category is at roughly -1%. Schwarzkopf keratin, on the back of the media investments, has shown 6% growth in Q1. And our retail partners and our consumers and myself selfishly are equally excited about seeing that momentum that our investments yield. What all those 3 examples have in common, they don't come from one function. They don't come from one person. So it is a true cross-functional efforts that brought us here. And I encourage all of you across both business units to really think about those cross-functional efforts where 1 + 1 = 3, because those are prime examples where this has clearly come to life. Thank you very much. The second update that I would like to give, because I get poked about it all the time, is around the divestiture of retailer brands. Martijn has mentioned that this is part of our portfolio optimization, and we have last time spoken to this audience in February when we signed the deal. The 1-sentence summary is we are on track with the divestiture, but I want to walk you through a little bit more detail on that. In April, we legally closed the deal. That's a very important milestone with regulatory approval. So all of those are in place. Right now, we're in a so-called TSA phase. In other words, it's like a company-in-company setup. So the business belongs to the new owners, but we are still running the operations on their behalf. And so far, the team, again, a cross-functional effort, have done a tremendous job on handing that business over. 2 very important milestones are coming up, and I encourage all of you to support the teams working on it. Number 1 is the production cutover in July, and number 2, those projects are very, very heavy on DX and IT, is the DX cutover in October. Again, prime example for a huge cross-functional effort. With that, I hand over to Melissa, who's going to give an update on the pro side of the business. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Good afternoon. Thanks again, Phil. Good afternoon, everyone. Just before I kick it off, I too would like to thank Pernilla for her years of service, the contributions she made on behalf of North America, and on behalf of HCB Professional Hair. I want to wish you the best of luck in your future projects. So if we could advance the slide. Great, thank you. I have the pleasure to speak to you this afternoon about our purposeful growth agenda and specifically winning portfolio initiatives for North America. My camera is on, so hopefully you can see me. I'm getting notes from Greg, but I will continue. So the first pillar is Joico, our largest brand in North America. Joico is celebrating 50 years of innovation and leadership in healthy hair with the launch of the Redefining Healthy Hair Since Forever campaign. As you can see, Kate Hudson is joining as Joico's first global celebrity spokesperson. Kate's a Hollywood favorite with an infectious sense of joy. There's truly no one better out there who embodies Joico's signature energy and confidence of having healthy hair. Through this partnership, Joico aims to inspire both professionals and consumers alike to find joy in hair care, reinforcing the brand's legacy of healthy hair and driving awareness for the brand. The second pillar is our Hairchella upskilling event. You'll see that it is a play on words on the infamous music festival Coachella. So to support and nurture our hair culture, we recently held a powerful upskilling event to build new skills, expand capabilities, and reinforce our shared commitment to excellence in hair expertise. The event focused on care and styling with hands-on activations and real-time learning. We had presentations from a variety of well-known hairstylists, as well as a keynote from Mary Rector, CEO and founder of BehindTheChair.com. And finally, you see here, we have Kenra Professionals Volume Spray 25 limited edition. This is an initiative to further build out a hero and best-selling franchise in Volume 25 hairspray. It's the same high hold formula, now available in special fragrances of Coastal Breeze and Sultry Nights, a super hold of up to 120 hours with high humidity and wind resistance. And did you know that based on 2024 Klein results, Kenra is the #1 professional styling brand in North America? What an amazing achievement. And with that, I will hand it over to Jenny. And first off, we will watch a short video. Thank you so much.
At Henkel, we know greatness doesn't just show up on game day. It's built long before the first whistle blows. It starts in the quiet moments, the early alarms, the packed bags, the teammates that lift each other up. It's built with the same hands that fix broken cleats, turn grass-stained uniforms clean, and the extra few minutes getting the game day hair just right. At the heart of it all, where routines become ritual, is home. As pioneers at Heart for the Good of Generations, we are proud to partner with U.S. Soccer, empowering fans, players, and communities to win, on and off the field. From daily routines to defining moments, Henkel's trusted brands are there, fueling performance, strengthening bonds, and celebrating every clean sheet, bold style, and unstoppable moment. We are committed to passion, performance, respect, and diversity, with a mission to put Henkel at the heart of every home team.
Hi, everybody. I have the great pleasure today to tell you a little bit about what we're doing with U.S. Soccer and to announce the special opportunity for employees. But we wanted to start with that video because it's a sneak peek for Henkel employees, internal only at this point, of a new creative theme that we're going to be rolling out in the fall externally as we continue to promote our sponsorship in North America in order to build the Henkel employer brand. So just, I can't see everybody on camera in the remote locations, but just for this room, help me out here. How many people have been in a conversation where you say, I'm with Henkel, and they say, oh, the knife company? Right. But if you say, I'm with Loctite, or I'm with Dial, or I'm with Snuggle, those well-recognized equities are what hold Henkel up. So we needed a format that we could leverage our equities in a better way to associate with Henkel, and consumers, employees, everybody has something to relate to. And then they find out more about what it's like to work here, our total rewards program, and this is what earns us those awards that we showed in the first video at the beginning. So soccer is just one platform, but it's our biggest investment and reputation in probably decades. And a big thanks to the board members who had the vision to do this, to invest in marketing of the Henkel brand in order to build employer brand. So I'm going to move forward to the next slide and just show you a quick one-pager on some of the things that we're doing externally. Pernilla mentioned attending a match in the rain. I think many of you have also attended matches in the sun. I'll try to work that out going forward. But some of what you might see if you're at a match is we have an amazing stadium presence on all the LED boards in every stadium. And these numbers are just through April, where we're reaching in-person fans. And we're also reaching people watching on broadcast. So again, through April, 5 million broadcast views. So every match that's televised, we're there. We also are investing in owned and paid media. So we have a website, we have social media campaigns across our platforms within Henkel and our brands, but also on the U.S. Soccer Federation's channels. So we're reaching a broader group of people who aren't already following us, but also investing in a paid campaign. So beginning this month, we have our well-known product brands advertising across soccer match TV media on all the partners that broadcast the matches. So if you're watching a game at home, look out for one of our spots. And then I think a lot of you know about the employee recognition and the employee engagement opportunities. Hopefully, if you like to purchase sports merchandise, you have seen that we have a 20% discount on all U.S. soccer merchandise. And that applies for Canada and the U.S. So no matter what team you choose to follow, you can buy merchandise there. It's super important because many of you who are soccer fans know that the World Cup is next year. Men's team is competing in the US, but it's a competition across Mexico, Canada, and the US. So what better time for Henkel to make this investment and increase the awareness of who we are? And when you look at those signs in the stadium or any of our commercial advertising, you'll start to see that association between the product brands and the Henkel brand. You also probably know that we have a program where you can enter to win tickets to the matches. So continue to look for that on the Henkel Hub. If you're not familiar with where that is, go to the Hub, search soccer, and a topics page will come up where you can enter a lottery to win tickets. In addition to engaging our teams, which is first and foremost, we want to engage with the fans. So not just show up at a stadium with branding, but interact with them. Talk to them about our products. So we've been super active at what they call block parties, which is basically just a big old party outside of a match where you can come and learn about Henkel by playing interactive games with us, interacting with our products, learn more about who we are and what we make. And we have legend appearances happening at some of those, so you can get a signed autograph from a former legend player, and we'll be bringing them into some of our activities internally as well. And you've heard a lot about our commitment at Henkel for community engagement. And soccer provides us a terrific program to do that as well. So you'll see later in the year, we're rolling out a program called Young Player of the Year, where we're the exclusive sponsor awarding the best young male and women player of the year. We're sponsoring 4 youth clinics across 2 markets in the US this fall. And in April, the Dial brand launched the Clean Sheet. So if you're not familiar with a clean sheet, some of you might know it's a shutout. But every time
the goalie prevents the opposing team from winning, or from scoring, excuse me, that's called a clean sheet. And so Dial, in honor of that amazing performance, because performance is a value of ours, makes a donation for every time there's a clean sheet, every single match where there's a clean sheet. So it's a donation to Donors Choose, which is an education charity in the United States that supports teachers and classrooms. So education is a big focus for Henkel, and soccer allows us to bring that to life. So that's a big high-level overview, but I want to tell you about what you're probably interested in hearing, and that's on the next slide. You can enter to win a flyaway trip to Austin, Texas. So that's to see a match. So we're going to send one lucky employee and 3 guests to the U.S. men's national team where they're playing in Austin. If you've ever been there, it's a super cool stadium. It's modern, sort of the standard going forward for stadiums, fun city to visit. But the prizes include a round-trip flight, hotel stay, the tickets, you'll get custom merchandise. We also have some runner-up prizes. So if you don't already have your phone out in the room to scan the QR code, I'll give you a minute to do that. If you're watching online, you can scan it there as well. But don't panic if you don't get it. We will be pushing out an email so you can go online and enter this. So enter soon, because we're going to announce the winner on National Soccer Day. Probably didn't know there was such a thing as National Soccer Day. Monday, July 28th. So look for more information on that. And remember, you have to enter to win. Contest is available to all employees in the region, US and Canada. So good luck to all of you. And before I close this portion of the presentation, I just want to do one more slide to say you've heard a lot about teams today, and we're sponsoring teams through US Soccer, but we couldn't do it without a team. So I want to give a shout out to the working team for US Soccer, Megan, Michelle, Chantel, and Pernilla from HAT. Elizabeth Black from HR, who's our employer branding expert on the project. From HCB, Phil's business, we have Phil, Chris, and Katarina. Thank you, Phil. And sort of PMOing the whole project is the team in corporate communications. So thank you to my team of Hannah, Erica, and Maria. What's wonderful about this is we're taking a one Henkel approach. The businesses are sharing their ideas, trying to figure out how we can get more synergy out of them and really make the partnership work. So it's been a pleasure working with the team. I want to give them a shout out. It's time to hear from all of you online and in the room. We'll turn it over to Pernilla to facilitate our Q&A.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's see if we got any questions. And also, if there's any questions here in the room, you raise your hand and the microphone will come flying to you. Any questions here in Bridgewater? Someone's getting a phone call.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Very good. Mark.
For the last time, Pernilla. So I thought we might do this maybe as almost like an exit interview process. So we saw a lot of the great accomplishments that have happened since you've been here. I'm wondering what you view as your biggest disappointment that you weren't able to get done while you were here.
Oh, damn.
And it sets the stage for us to maybe do it after you're gone or not.
Thank you for the question, Mark. We should have taken one online. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. There's still so many great colleagues in this organization that I haven't met and haven't heard what they do and why they do it and how they do it. And I should probably have stayed a bit longer to meet all of them. So I think that's probably, I would have loved to go to meet everyone and make sure that I understand the magic that each of our colleagues do every day. Because I really think we do a magic in this company. And I think we do it because we just have a great bunch of people who work here and have focus on what our customers need and We do it every day. We come back to work every day. And at least here in Bridgewater, we also have a lot of fun when we do it. So yeah, probably what I would have liked to do if I stayed a bit longer. And then, of course, to give you a little bit more kind of what can you do? There's an absolutely amazing foundation for doing more. I think we have a great potential in this company to do more and to dare to lead the industries we're in. We do that in some industries, and in some we're leading market leadership, but the volatility in our surroundings calls for leaders. And I think we have the values, we have the capabilities, we have the products, we have the production capabilities to lead, really lead wherever we are. So please do that. It's so cool when we do it. Thanks for the question. All right, do we have another one that I don't have to answer? We got some before. Maybe I take one of those. There's one about, Phil, this one is for you and me, that we got before the town hall. Are we doing enough to meet our sustainability goals? And what are the challenges and what are we doing to break through these challenges? You want to give it a brief shot?
Yeah. So are we doing enough? I don't think we are ever doing enough, quite frankly. If the person who asked that question thinks about, are we potentially toning it down because competitors stepped away from their sustainability commitments, we're not going to do that. And I think that's a good thing because sustainability is a differentiator versus competition as well. And I think the other dimension that's important, we automatically think about sustainability to be an investment that never pays back. In my mind, on the one hand, it pays back long term, but even the things that may not pay back short term, biomass balance or so, is maybe something that doesn't pay back on the short term, but more so in the long term. There's enough initiatives that pay back in the short term as well, and are sustainability initiatives. So I was sharing the compaction program that we're doing in HCB, where it's absolutely the right thing for our P&L, for our consumer, for our customer, and for the planet to continue to double down on sustainability. So that's not going to change under our leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. And regarding sustainability, absolutely not toning it down. I agree. I think we have a big task ahead of us. We committed to net zero pathway, and the biggest challenge is our scope 3. So we're working quite a lot in HAT on our suppliers, but also how we enable our customers to become even more sustainable. I think the latest example I can think of is the Celanese example, where we are partnering with them to utilize carbon capture and utilization to re-enter that carbon stream into their raw material streams. And there are many, many examples on how we work with our suppliers, but also with our customers. So absolutely not stepping back, and absolutely much more to do on sustainability. All right, there are a few questions. I now have to look here. There's a few questions about my succession, and I can tell you that there will be successors, so a successor announced shortly, and right now the announcement is that everyone who was in my team, or everyone who are in my team today, will be reporting to Mark Dawn until succession has been announced, but it will come shortly, I assure you. So that's coming up. There were a couple of questions about that. And there are some questions, Jenny, maybe you can help us answer, about the soccer sponsorship. There's one related to how we're measuring the effectiveness of the sponsorship, and I need to read this aloud. How the sponsorship can support, or maybe is not in support of, our D&I ambition and values.
Sure. Thank you for the questions. I love the measurement question. We used data going into this to determine how we were going to do it. And one of the first things we did is a baseline study of unaided awareness of Henkel and association. If you know who Henkel is, do you know which products we actually make? Not surprisingly, we thought it would be around 20% or less, and that's about right. And we will continue to measure that on a periodic basis going forward. We have a number of other KPIs where we can measure the impact on employer branding, we can measure the impact of our advertising investment, et cetera. So we have a whole work stream around that. And in particular, did we move the needle with the soccer fan community? Because it's a very specific target for a reason, because it's such a family-oriented sport and we want to demonstrate our value of family. We hope you saw that a little bit with the Winning Starts at Home campaign concept, but you'll see so much of how we communicate grounded in that. Secondly, the question on D&I love. It's another reason why we chose to partner with the U.S. Soccer Federation specifically. It is the most diverse sports federation in the world. It is the first federation to pay women athletes equally with men, and that still hasn't happened in most federations around the world, soccer or otherwise. It actually has 27 national teams, including teams for hearing impaired, people with disabilities, a women's team, a men's team, youth soccer, so any of you who have kids in AYSO or youth soccer, so it's a very diverse setup. And it's the first major sports federation to have a woman as a CEO. So that was a perfect match for us in terms of our diversity and inclusion investment. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. So there's a question related to, and I want to perhaps have Phil and Melissa help me answer this one. There's a question related to whether we need to do anything differently second half this year to deliver on our full year results. Melissa, do you want to? Yeah, you can also start. Phil? Yeah.
Question, very short answer. We need to grow. We were on the better before bigger journey. I think I've announced that as well in various town halls. So we improved our GP1 margin profile by close to 1,500 basis points holistically by reducing and optimizing our portfolio roughly by 50%. And the logical next step is that we turn around the OSG. As Martine has said earlier, HCB and HAT as well had a negative OSG quarter in Q1, and Q2 is now the turning point where we'll have to be OSG neutral and then turn this ship into growth.
Just to build on Phil's point, there is a ton of pressure on top line development for sure. Similarly, for Professional Hair North America, we were negative in Q1 for all of the reasons that we know. We anticipate having positive organic sales growth in Q2. So we are experiencing some good momentum, but for sure for second half, there is a ton of pressure. We believe as a leadership team for Hair Pro in North America that we have the key drivers and building blocks to deliver against the plan, but it's a very dynamic situation. So we're working on various mitigation plans, plan Bs, plan Cs, in case our best laid plans don't come to fruition. It's a dynamic and fluid situation in an unpredictable year, and we have to be agile, and we have to have a really strong sense of urgency. But thank you so much for the question.
Thank you, Melissa. And for HAT, I can say, yes, we are for sure looking at a very volatile, uncertain external landscape, and it hits some of our businesses harder than others. We can see the automotive businesses, for instance, that the market there looks a bit different than maybe we anticipated a few years ago. So the strategic intent and the strategic direction for sure remains the same, but we need to we need to be nimble in our adjustment on how we work with our customers and make sure we deliver value to them every day. And that can change over time. So, but otherwise, course remains the same. And on that one, I got one more question that we got before the town hall, which is, should we expect cost cuts or job eliminations this year given tariffs and economic challenges? And I alluded a little bit to earlier in the town hall about the external environment we're in, the volatility, the uncertainty, and the concerns that can cause for everyone, and that's fully understood. Henkel is always and will continue to be looking at the business in a way where we run the most optimal business for the given business circumstances. So we are always looking at running the best possible organization. And we have always done that. So there's no news there, and we will continue to. We'll always do it based on business cases and rational arguments for how we form our business. So that is a continuous effort. It's part of our winning portfolio as well. So no changes on that one either. I still think that the nimbleness, in particular in our interactions with our customers, is what will help us through this and win for the long run. So please focus on that and move forward in that way. We only now have almost 2 minutes. Is there one more question in Bridgewater? Yes, please go. Michelle.
Need a microphone, I guess? Here you go.
Is it a Mark kind of question?
It is not. I have a D&I question, actually. So also, Pernille, just thank you for everything. I know we've already had a chance to chat, but we'll miss you very much. So I do have a question about the shift from DEI to D&I. Equity, of course, addresses systematic disparity and opportunity, and I'm curious, what as an organization we're going to do to stay accountable on addressing whether this is advancement or pay equity, et cetera. Would love to hear some more about that.
Sure.
Thank you.
You want to answer? Yes. So we let Valeria answer that one.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Hello, everyone. I would say first that, as Pernille said at the beginning, so we remain very committed to diversity and inclusion. And this is something that makes me feel every day very well. So knowing that as organizations, so we keep living our values and we are loud about it. So we are transparent, we are open, and we are sharing this with you. We know that there are some things that are changing, and what we did is evolving together with it and making sure that everything we do is definitely remaining compliant, but also making sure that includes everyone. And I think this is when we talk about inclusion, we talk about everyone of us, everyone here in this organization. So we need to make sure that every single employee feels valued, recognized, included, and that everything we do is connected to that. So we have tons of programs. We have different learning opportunities that are definitely focused to ensuring that we are including our employees. Giving examples also on recruitment events. So we continue to foster different conferences, different recruitment events, and with different associations that we've been in partnership for years. So this is something that remains very high on the agenda because we want to make sure that we keep having a diverse pool of candidates in every single process that we have, and that we're able to choose the best one for the role, having a bench kind of options going for it. We keep having a very well engaged group, an amazing group, I would say, of ERGs, which are crucial for it. And all ERGs are open to everyone here in this organization. And this is something beautiful that we did since the beginning in the year, 2000. So it was really, really good to continue in that direction. So ensuring that our ERGs are able also to keep this journey in the way that we were doing. And so it's about evolution, it's about evolving, it's about ensuring inclusivity and keep reinforcing our values and living them properly.
Thank you very much, Valeria. And with this we are officially over time. I apologize for that. But thank you very much for joining us for the town hall today. And stay tuned for the next one in July, which is about accelerating our cultural transformation. Thank you.